VIFAL. You are now listening to the VIFAL podcast, where we talk about
visual impairment,
inclusion,
fashion,
accessibility,
and lifestyle.
Hi V-fam, it's me again, Jake, and welcome to another episode of the VIFAL podcast, the ASEAN Enabling Masterplan Special. Today we're going to talk about accessible infrastructure and transportation. And to help us know more about this topic, we'll be joined by Dr. Robert C., the advisor and co-convener of the Move as One Coalition. He's a sustainable mobility advocate who wrote Mobility Matters for the Manila Times. He worked at the Asian Development Bank, World Bank, and Asian Institute of Management. He is also a graduate of BS Management Engineering at the Ateneo de Manila University and took his PhD in City and Regional Planning at the Cornell University. VIFAM, let us all welcome Sir Robbie. Okay, so magandang araw po, Sir Robbie.
Hi Jake, nice to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Ayan, ako. Kami rin po nagpapasalamat sa inyong pagpapaunlak dito po sa ating simpleng interview. Kamusta naman po?
Okay naman. I, of course, am very excited with yung possibility of engaging yung bagong administration natin. So, hopefully, we can promote yung good transportation and mobility practices. So,
ayan.
Yun, that's my, in a way, that's my passion. At I'm happy to share yung knowledge ko and maybe also what we feel to be yung good practices. So yun ang purpose ng Move as One Coalition, yung grupo po namin.
Ayan, a little background naman po about Move as One Coalition. Paano po ba ito nagsimula?
Actually, Jake, nagsimula to sa pandemya. During the early months, yung mga interesado or concerned sa yung mobility crisis natin, we got together and we found na actually may maraming mga organizations and individuals who are interested in what they call yung sustainable mobility. And if you recall, yung early 2020, naging very limited yung public transport. Dahil po sa yung physical distancing at yung mga lockdowns, maraming mga transport providers na sideline. So during this period, yung group of Move as One was formed, and today we continue to work to push for better transportation and better mobility. So yun yung origins, mga actually more than 2 years old na yung Move as One.
I see. And ito po talaga yung main advocacy ng inyong grupo po, or organization, yung mobility and transportation. Dito po kayo talaga nagfo-focus.
Yeah, that's right, Jake.
And para naman po sa yun din po, para sa kaalaman ng nakararami, ano po ba itong tinatawag natin na accessible infrastructure at saka mobility or transportation accessibility? Ano po ba to? Paano ba natin masasabi po yung mga accessibility na yan, ganyan? Sige po.
Well, one of the principles na pinupush ng Move as One is accessibility for all. Kasi po yung transportation and yung infrastructure, halimbawa yung mga sidewalks natin and bike lanes, these should be accessible for people of all abilities. And yung napansin namin early on was that yung mga ibang transportation facilities and even yung mga vehicles, kadalasan, it caters to people who are physically able, pero there is a very large segment of the population that are excluded. And not only yung persons with disabilities, but also, for example, yung mga elderly, little children, people carrying heavy packages, pregnant women, there are many groups that are excluded because of yung design or incorrect design of facilities, infrastructure, and even yung mga vehicles natin. So this is something we hope to correct because yung belief, the belief that we have is that mobility is a basic human need. Everyone is entitled to mobility. So we should, as much as possible, design yung mga infrastructure, services, public transport to accommodate everyone, persons of all abilities. So yun ang principles behind yung concept of accessibility.
I see. So yan po talaga, nakita po ninyo yung need sa mga gantong klase ng transportation na maging accessible para po sa lahat, hindi lamang po dun sa mga limited or para dun sa mga tao na ayun po, without disability. So tama naman po yun at nakikita po namin yung ikinaganda po nung advocacy po ng inyong grupo. At ano po ba yung importansya? Ano po ba yung importance ng accessible infrastructure or transportation para sa mga tulad natin na persons with disability po?
Actually, even today and already for a long time, yung Philippine laws and policies already guarantee yung accessibility for persons with disability. So, I think familiar rin kayo sa yung BP 344, which is called yung Accessibility Law. And the Philippines is also a signatory to the UN Convention on Persons with Disabilities. And actually, these two documents, which have the force of law, they guarantee that facilities as well as services should be accessible to all physical abilities and to persons with disability. Ang problema po is that today we find so many structures, buildings, services that disregard these legal requirements. And this is something that we all need to correct because it's something that is fair and just. We need to make our facilities and services accessible to all. So it's not only because it's a legal requirement, but it's also something that is humane, fair, and just for all.
Yes po, totoo naman po yun. Para syempre hindi naman po natin masasabi, 'di ba? Talaga namang yan po mga ganyang batas. Maliban naman po sa malaki ang importansya o benepisyo po na matatanggap nating mga persons with disability diyan, ay hindi lang naman po person with disability ang makikinabang, tama po, 'di ba? Pati naman yung without disability, magagamit po nila yan at may enjoy. Lalo na yung disability naman po, hindi nangangahulugan na born disabled ka na, ganyan, malabo mata or merong problem sa mobility, 'di ba? Nararamdaman or alam din naman po natin na habang ang tao ay nagkakaedad, 'di ba po? Tulad nga nung nabanggit nyo kanina, yung ating mga elderly, syempre nagkakaroon na rin po sila ng konting ano ba tawag doon? Hindi ko masabi yung term, pero syempre nagkakaroon na ng konting hindrance, 'di ba po, sa mga bagay na ginagawa nila. Kahit ayaw man natin tanggapin, 'di ba? Darating at darating sa point na kahit na tayo ay without disability sa ngayon, 'di ba? Magkakaroon po tayo. Tama po, 'di ba? Lalo na sa panahon po ngayon.
At pati na rin yung mga bata, for example, in livable cities all over the world, if we design for persons with disabilities, what we find is that yung mga facilities and services become also safe and attractive for people of all ages. So, kagaya ng sinabi ni Jake, for the elderly as well as for the very young. So, the system becomes more inclusive and more functional for everyone. And that's what we want.
Yan po. Tama po yan. Talagang pagpasok po dun sa inclusive talaga, parang nga po, sinasabi natin na it should be universal design for all, di ba? Doon na po yan pumapasok talaga lahat. Para sa'yo, para sa akin, para sa lahat. Regardless kung meron ka mang disability o wala, bata ka man o matanda, di ba? Dapat na-enjoy po natin yung mga bagay na yan at nagagamit natin. So, mula po nung inilabas itong accessibility law na nabanggit nyo po, na nagsasabi na dapat mga facilities ganyan or mga infrastructures or ay dapat accessible. Mula po nung naipasa yan, are there any progresses po or may nakita po ba kayong improvement sa accessibility ng mga infrastructure at saka mga transportation means po dito sa atin, sa bansa?
Actually, Jake, I would say only recently po yung awareness of officials na may mga ganong batas and may mga principles that are enshrined in like yung UN Convention. And I think it's time na yung civil society as well as yung mga representatives natin in Congress and Senate push also very hard for introducing yung genuine accessibility. And isang magandang balita is what I heard recently from yung bagong secretary natin, si Secretary Jaime Bautista.
Yes po.
Recently appointed siya sa Department of Transportation. And yung mga principles that he put out in his initial statement, ang sabi po niya, dapat yung transportation should be accessible, affordable, safe, and comfortable. So, he wants to see our transportation services as accessible. So, I believe he recognizes that there is still a very large gap in compliance. So sana po we can work together with yung Department of Transportation to push this agenda. Magandang opportunity po ito.
Yan, okay. Maraming salamat po. Ano naman po ang inyong opinion or masasabi tungkol po doon sa term na parang we develop or nagtatayo tayo ng mga kalsada para sa mga sasakyan, hindi para sa mga tao. Kasi yes, instead of giving di ba po, parang isa siya sa parang ang init-init na issue ngayon, di ba? Yeah. Para sa vehicle yung ginagawa nyo, hindi naman para sa tao. Parang ganun po yung term na lumalabas or sinasabi ng iba.
Yes, that's a very good point, Sir Jake. For the longest time, our observation is that masyadong what they call car-centric yung mga policies and practices natin, both in the public sector pati na rin sa private sector. And I think we can observe this in the way our streets are designed. Diba? Kung minsan kinakain pati na rin yung sidewalk, halos
yes,
sidewalk kasi nilalapad nila yung kalsada para sa mga kotse. And there is a feeling that more and more roads need to be built in order to solve traffic. Yun ang iniisip ng mga planners of 10, 20 years ago. Pero what I can say is that there was a realization among yung transport engineers and even yung urban planners na yung pagdagdag ng mga kalsada, yung pag-widen ng mga streets natin, they made maybe temporary improvement in yung traffic. Pero very soon, dumadami pa rin yung mga kotse. So, widening of roads, expansion of roads is not the solution to solving traffic. The real solution will come when we make public transport, walking and cycling attractive for everyone. So this should be the aim. We should change yung focus away from solving traffic for cars and shift attention towards making public transport, walking and cycling attractive for everyone. And dito natin pwedeng i-link yung focus on improving yung infrastructure for persons with disabilities and making it fully accessible. Like you say, yung universal design. Kasi po, if we apply yung universal design everywhere, that will make our public transport systems, our sidewalks, our bike lanes, it will make them attractive and safe for everyone. And that is the key. If we are able to do that, we will be moving in the right direction of making our cities more livable. So ito po yung message namin sa Move as One Coalition. That should be the focus of our government officials, our incoming administration. Sana po this can be a change in the strategy that they will adopt in the transportation and mobility sector.
Yes po. Ayan. So, napakaganda po ng inyong mga sinabi, no? Ayan po. So, sa panahon ngayon, kung titignan talaga natin yung lagay ng ating kalsada, yung lagay ng mga establishmento dito po sa ating bansa, specifically kahit dyan na lang po sa may Manila, ganyan, sabihin na natin na po, no, para meron tayong lugar. What else needs to be improved po para sa infrastructure or mga transportation means dyan sa lugar na yan na pwede po ninyo or natingin po ninyo mas magiging effective para po sa nakararami? Ayan.
Sa ngayon po, in terms of solving yung transportation problems, yung situation, what we see is kailangang i-expand or dapat may increase yung supply ng public transportation. Sa ngayon, very limited yung supply ng public transportation. Kaya ang napapansin natin, ang nakikita natin everyday in yung mga terminals, ang haba ng mga pila. And actually, there are reports na even this evening, even yesterday, na yung waiting time for yung mga buses is now sometimes more than 2 hours. It is becoming unbearable for people. Yun lang yung paghihintay nila sa pila. That's not even the travel time of the actual vehicles. So this is making transportation very, very difficult even for persons without any disability. What more for persons with disability? It makes it practically, very large obstacle. So we need to make public transport sufficient and if possible plentiful and abundant. So ganun po yung dapat ang goal natin in the coming administration. And I am also encouraged by yung view of Secretary Bautista that he wants to make our transportation system in line with the global standard. So what that tells me is yung mga practices that we find in other countries, yung universal design, yung accessible for persons of all abilities, that is what he wants to bring here as well. So I'm hopeful that we will begin to see a change in the mindset, and we need to give Secretary Bautista our full support so he can push this agenda. So I think this is where lahat tayo dito sa enabling Masterplan and our coalition, we should all work together to push the agenda.
Yes po. Ayan, maraming salamat po. So, tulad nga po ng sinabi ninyo, talaga dapat po i-promote natin itong mga ganitong klase ng advocacy kasi napakalaki po ng maitutulong ito, hindi lamang po, di ba, sa mga persons with disability, kundi para na nga po talaga sa lahat at sa nakakarami. So, ayan po. Maraming salamat po ulit sa pagpapaunlak sa amin dito sa isang interview po patungkol sa ganitong topic. At last few messages na lang po para sa lahat at para po sa ating mga taga-subaybay at nakikinig po dito sa ilalabas po natin na podcast na ito or na episode po na to. Ayan. Messages po ninyo sa lahat, sa government, sa mga tao. Ayan, sige po.
So, Sir Jake, thank you for this opportunity. Yung message ko is move people, not cars. Prioritize the mobility of people who are vulnerable. And of course, yung most vulnerable road user are people on foot, on bicycles, and especially persons with disabilities. So when we protect those segments of the population, when we keep them safe, then we keep everybody safe. So dapat ganun yung frame of mind of our officials. It will save lives and it will create a more livable urban environment for everyone. So thank you again, Jake, for inviting me to this interview.
Yes po, maraming salamat po. And it's our pleasure po na makasama po kayo sa mga ganitong klase ng pag-uusap, 'di ba? Alam naman po natin na hindi po lahat ay alam, 'di ba? Or napag-uusapan man 'to, hindi alam ng nakararami na ay may ganyan pala. So, isa na rin po ito para maipakalat po natin yung awareness sa lahat at sa nakararami. At again, nagpapasalamat po kami sa pagsama niyo po sa amin sa interview na 'to. Ayan. Thank you very much po, Sir Robbie.
Thank you rin, Sir Jake. Best of luck to our colleagues Enabling Masterplan. We promote the ASEAN Enabling Masterplan 2025.
And together, let's make true inclusivity a reality. Now na!
This has been the VIFAL podcast. For more updates, please follow our socials. Facebook.com/VIFALPH, Twitter.com/VIFALPH, and YouTube.com/VIFALPH. Till the next episode.